Let's be blunt. You're here because something stings. The fear of losing your respeto, subtle manipula quo, or watching others command effortless attention while you fumble. This isn't about feel-good platitudes. This is raw reality. We're ripping open the Wago mental, the psychological warfare you're already losing, society's equality narrative, a lie to neutralize your potter. Life is brutal emotional chess. Tonight, we embrace Machiavelli's truths. We dissect control emocional, not to suppress, but to wield. We expose estrategia masculina to forge the hombre de alto valor, who understands why being feared often trumps being loved. This isn't for the weak. If you squirm good, that's your weakness begging transformation. Don't move unless you're done being a pawn. Don't move unless you're done being a pawn. This charade they peddle, this equality dogma, it's a joke, a pacifier for the masses. They want you to believe everyone's a winner. Everyone gets a trophy. Bullshit. It's a carefully constructed narrative, a brilliant piece of manipulation designed to neuter your natural drive for dominance, to dismantle your inherent power. They preach control, emotional as some virtue, but it's a leash, a muzzle. They want you compliant, predictable, easy to manage. They want you to think you're equal, so you never even consider the notion of true hierarchy, of actual strength. Look around you. Does the jungle preach equality? Does the corporate boardroom? Hell no. Nature, raw and unadulterated, is a brutal, undeniable hierarchy. The strong survive, the stronger thrive, and the weak, they become fodder. The lion doesn't negotiate with the gazelle for a fair share of the savannah. He takes it. He asserts his potter. That's the cold, hard truth they desperately try to obscure with their saccharine tales of universal fairness. This whole equality thing is a social engineering project, a Wago mental to disarm every man who might actually challenge the existing order. It's about keeping you soft, keeping you from recognizing the beast within, from tapping into your primal desire for respeto that isn't granted but earned through sheer will and capability. They tell you to lower your standards, to embrace mediocrity, to fear toxic masculinity, which, translated, means any trait that might make you formidable and independent. It's the ultimate form of control, emotional, an attempt to castrate your ambition. This isn't some conspiracy theory. It's just how the world works for those who understand Machiavelli better than you do. The moment you buy into the equality myth, you cede your potter. You become another brick in their wall, another sheep in their pen. The hombre de alto valor knows this. He sees through the illusion. He understands that true respeto is never given. It's taken. It's commanded through competence, through an unshakable resolve to dominate his environment. This isn't about being fair. It's about being effective. It's about recognizing that life is inherently unfair, and your job isn't to complain about it, but to exploit it, to leverage its imbalances in your favor. Estrategia masculina dictates that you don't fight for a level playing field. You build yourself into the most formidable player on an unlevel one, while others are squawking about equity. You should be sharpening your teeth, observing the pecking order, identifying opportunities to ascend. They want you to be docile, to forget the predatory instinct. They want you to be a provider, not a conqueror. But the truth is, te conqueror will always have more respeto, more resources, more women, because he understands the fundamental laws of potter. He doesn't ask for permission. He takes what he wants. He doesn't play by their rules of artificial fairness. He rewrites them. That's the difference between a king and a commoner, between a predator and prey. One understands the hierarchy, embraces it, and uses it. The other denies it and becomes its victim. Your choice. Are you going to be the one who dictates the terms, or the one who is dictated to? This isn't about being liked. It's about being effective. It's about understanding that the world rewards strength, not sentimentality. So, stop whining about fairness and start building your empire. Recognize that the illusion of equality is a mental cage designed to keep you from realizing your true potential, from wielding the kind of power that shakes foundations. It's time to break free. It's time to embrace the ruthless reality that the top is lonely, and it's earned, not given. That's estrategia masculina in its purest form. It's about securing your dominance, not debating false narratives of social harmony. They want to dilute your ambition, to make you feel guilty for wanting to win. Screw that. The game is rigged, but not against you if you play it right. And part of playing it right, really playing it like a master, is understanding that mercy isn't some warm, fuzzy virtue that makes you feel good about yourself. It's a goddamn scalpel, a tool, a calculated weapon in your arsenal, precisely deployed, not out of compassion, but out of cold, hard, strategic necessity. Machiavelli laid it out flat. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. And he was dead right. Why? Because love is a fickle, fleeting mistress, subject to whims, emotions, and the next shiny object that comes along. It can be bought, it can be lost, it dissipates with inconvenience, but fear is a leash. It's a primal, visceral understanding of consequence. It commands instant, unshakable respect, or not out of affection, but out of pure, unadulterated self-preservation. The hombre de alto valor doesn't chase adoration. He cultivates strategic awe. He doesn't want people to like him. He wants them to understand the absolute futility of crossing him, the sheer impracticality of disrespecting him. So, when we talk about mercy, we're not talking about some bleeding heart weakness or turning the other cheek. That's for the sheep. We're talking about a precisely timed, calculated move, a power play designed to reinforce your dominance or to subtly manipulate the environment to your advantage. It's about showing someone just enough mercy to keep them in line, to make them beholden, to prevent outright rebellion, but never enough to make them forget who holds the goddamn hammer. Never enough to erode that underlying fear, that fundamental understanding of your capacity to inflict pain or remove privilege. Think about it like a chess master. Sometimes you sacrifice a pawn, not out of weakness but to open up a devastating attack. Sometimes you allow an opponent a small gain just to lull them into a false sense of security before you unleash the real force. Strategic mercy is exactly that. It's a temporary reprieve, a psychological maneuver that messes with their heads, creating a deeper, more entrenched form of control in which you give them a taste of what they think is kindness, only to reinforce your iron grip. This isn't about being nice. It's about being effective, about securing your long-term power. This mercy is also your ultimate shield against manipulation. They expect you to be predictable, to be easily swayed by appeals to emotion or fairness. You turn that expectation on its head. When they see you capable of both immense pressure and surprising, calculated leniency, it throws them off balance. They can't pin you down. They can't predict your next move. And an unpredictable adversary, especially one who demonstrates mastery over the levers of consequence, is a terrifying adversary. That's the essence of the Wago mental. You give them just enough rope to hang themselves, or just enough freedom to make them dependent on your continued grace. It's all part of the strategia masculina, an understanding that true strength isn't about constant aggression, but about intelligent application of force. And sometimes, the threat of force through controlled withholding. You want to be liked. Get a damn dog. It will love you unconditionally. Usually, you want to command a room, lead men, build an empire. Understand the cold, hard logic of strategic mercy. It's about wielding power with precision, not sentimentality. It's about understanding human psychology, not as a weakness to exploit in others, but as a system you can program, a set of levers you can pull. You pull the strings, not out of malice, but out of necessity, to maintain your position, to expand your influence, and to ensure that your will is done. Remember, a man who is feared has a consistent, measurable impact. A man who is merely loved has a fleeting, conditional influence. Your choice, again. Do you want to build on quicksand or bedrock? Choose wisely, because the world only bends for those who understand how to make it bend. And sometimes, that bending comes from the strategic withholding of the very pain they expect. Now, let's talk about a real gut check. The myth of morality. You think being a good guy is going to get you the corner office, the loyal legion, or the empire you crave. Bless your heart. The world isn't a damn kindergarten where participation trophies are handed out for showing up with a clean conscience. This isn't about whether you're a decent human being, it's about whether you're an effective one. The universe, in its cold, indifferent wisdom, rewards dominance and efficacy, not your capacity for kumbaya. Machiavelli wasn't writing fairy tales, he was mapping the brutal reality of power. He understood that a leader, especially in the Alto Valle, might need to be prepared to act against faith, against charity, or against religion, when necessity requires it. That doesn't mean you are those things, it means you can be them, if the situation demands. Moralidad isn't a straitjacket. It's a coat you can wear, or shed, depending on the weather of your objectives. Think about it. When has being nice ever truly guaranteed success in the cutthroat arenas of business, politics, or even personal relationships where real power dynamics are at play? People might like you, sure, but liking doesn't build empires. Liking doesn't command respect in the way that demonstrated capability, unwavering resolve, and a clear path to getting things done does. Respeto is earned when you prove you're the guy who can move mountains, not the guy who just talks about how pretty the view from the top would be. This isn't about being evil, it's about being effective. It's about understanding that the world rewards results, not good intentions. The guy who delivers, even if he steps on a few toes or breaks a few unwritten rules, will always rise above the one who perpetually seeks validation for his goodness while failing to execute. This is where your control emotional comes into play. You can't afford to be swayed by sentimental notions of what's right in a vacuum. Your moral compass needs to be calibrated to your strategic objectives, not some external, universally mandated code that serves everyone but you. The Wago mental requires you to understand that optics are everything. Sometimes, the appearance of virtue is more potent than virtue itself. You can leverage the perception of integrity, fairness, or even magnanimity to your advantage. This isn't hypocrisy, it's strategy. It's a subtle form of manipulation, guiding perceptions without uttering a single lie. You're simply allowing people to believe what serves your purpose, based on carefully curated actions and narratives. It's about being flexible, adaptable, and pragmatic. If acting morally serves your ends, you do it. If it hinders them, you pivot. The true strategia masculina dictates that you dictate the terms, not the prevailing sentimentality. You use moral framing when it strengthens your hand, when it rallies support, or when it disarms potential adversaries. You're not being good for goodness sake. You're being good because it's the smartest move on the chessboard right now. When you demonstrate that you can wield both the sword of force and the shield of perceived righteousness, you become unpredictable, formidable. That's the kind of man who commands respect, the kind of man others defer to. They see someone who isn't bound by the conventional chains of expectation, someone who is truly free to operate. This freedom, this calculated detachment from sentimentality, is a hallmark of true power. You decide what's moral based on the outcome you desire, not based on some outdated, ineffective dogma. It's about being a master of the game, not a pawn of abstract ideals. Now, speaking of calculated detachment and operating freely, let's talk about the silent killer in the room. The power of keeping your trap shut. Listen up, because this is where weak men stumble and real men rise. Giving too many explanations, justifying every move, seeking to be understood, that's the hallmark of weakness, a clear sign of submission. It screams insecurity. You're essentially begging for validation, desperately trying to control external perception through words, which, frankly, are cheap. A man with true pada doesn't explain his existence. He is his existence. Think about it. Who commands more respect? The barking dog, yelping every command, or the silent predator, moving with purpose, his intentions inscrutable until it's too late? The answer is obvious. The world doesn't need to understand you. It needs to respond to you. When you over-explain, you dilute your authority. You give away your hand, reveal your thought process, and invite endless negotiation and questioning. You hand over the keys to your internal world, allowing others to poke and prod. This isn't just inefficient. It's a colossal strategic blunder. Machiavelli himself would tell you that clarity, when it comes to your true machinations, is often a liability. The powerful operate in shadows, not under spotlights illuminating every angle. The man who truly understands the Wago mental knows that silence is a weapon. It creates an aura of mystery, making you unpredictable. People fill the void of your explanations with their own interpretations, and often, those interpretations inflate your perceived strength. They wonder what you're up to, what hidden ace you're holding. This uncertainty works entirely in your favor, keeping others off balance. It's a subtle form of manipulation, not through deceitful words, but through the deliberate absence of them. You let their minds do the heavy lifting, constructing narratives that serve your agenda, simply because you didn't provide one to contradict it. This mastery of silence is a cornerstone of control. A man easily rattled into defending himself or explaining his rationale lacks the inner fortitude to stand firm. He's reactive, not proactive. An hombre de alto valor understands that his actions, or the lack of his words, are his most potent forms of communication. When you execute a plan, and it yields results, no explanation is necessary. The outcome speaks for itself, loud and clear. Conversely, if you fail, explaining away the failure only highlights your impotence. Better to analyze, adjust, and re-engage, all without unnecessary fanfare. Your silence after a setback implies you're already calculating the next move, not wallowing in self-pity or seeking pity from others. This is why an effective strategia masculina values action over chatter. Your energy isn't wasted on pointless justifications. It's conserved for execution. It's about being present, observing, absorbing information, and then acting decisively when the moment calls for it. The man who talks too much often reveals too much, not just about his plans, but about his insecurities. He's broadcasting his weaknesses. The silent man, however, is a fortress. His mind is his own, his intentions veiled. He doesn't seek validation. He commands respeto through his presence, his results, and his sheer unwillingness to open the floodgates of unnecessary conversation. He knows that true pada doesn't need to be understood, it just needs to be undeniable. The man who gets easily offended, he's basically screaming to the world, "My self-worth is a fragile little bird, and its flight depends entirely on your gentle breezes." That's not the posture of an hombre de alto valor. That's the tell of a man who hasn't built his own foundation. Offense isn't some external truth bombing your existence. It's an internal wound you choose to inflict upon yourself. Someone lobs a verbal pebble, and it only cuts if you decide to catch it with your ego. This is the ultimate test of control, emotional. Can you observe the provocation without becoming the provocation? Can you let the words hang in the air, without letting them land in your soul? When a jab lands and sparks that familiar heat in your gut, don't lash out, don't defend, don't explain. Instead, see it as a high-definition mirror suddenly shoved in your face. Ask yourself, why did that specific comment pierce my armor? Is there a sliver of truth there, a hidden insecurity I've been papering over? Does it sting because deep down, you fear it's true, or that others might believe it? This isn't about self-pity, it's about cold, brutal self-analysis. This is your personal diagnostic tool. pointing out the weak links in your mental chain. This approach is pure Machiavelli. He taught us to understand human nature, and people, by their very nature, will prod, test, and provoke. They want to see if your control emotional is a steel cage or a paper lantern. They're initiating a juego mental, trying to gauge your breaking point, your predictability. If you react, if you crumble or lash out, you've just handed them the blueprint to your emotional vulnerabilities. You've confirmed you can be manipulated. And that, my friend, is a fatal flaw in the realm of Potter. An effective strategia masculina recognizes this. He doesn't react to the probe, he analyzes the probe. He learns from the attacker's technique, notes their intent, and then calculates his counter, often simply by not playing their stupid game. The world owes you no safe spaces for your feelings. It's a gladiatorial arena, a raw competitive landscape. If you're walking around with skin made of glass, every whisper will draw blood, every disagreement will feel like an assault. Your reaction to perceived offense is a direct measure of your true internal Potter. Do you shrink, or do you stand unbothered, perhaps even allowing a slight, knowing smirk to grace your lips? The latter demonstrates an unshakable core, a self-possession, that commands genuine respeto. The former marks you as a lightweight, easily tipped over. This isn't about being numb or emotionless. It's about being sovereign over your own internal state. An insult is merely a set of sounds or symbols. They only gain power if you, the recipient, grant it to them. A man of real substance understands that his value is inherent, not bestowed, or diminished by external commentary. Practical tip: when that hot surge of indignation threatens to engulf you, pause, take a breath. Observe the sensation as if it's a passing cloud. Ask yourself, very directly, is this worth my energy? Does this person's opinion genuinely impact my trajectory or my inherent value? Most times the answer is a resounding no. Most offenses are just noise, clumsy attempts at manipulation to throw you off balance. Don't give them the satisfaction. Don't play their game. The man who demands respeto by being easily offended paradoxically loses it. He becomes a convenient target, seen as soft, predictable. The man who truly commands respeto is unshakable, a fortress of self. His value is self-evident, not reliant on constant external validation. This is where your own manipulation comes into play, not in a malicious sense, but in an assertive one. They try to manipulate you with offense. You manipulate them by showing zero reaction, leaving them bewildered and utterly powerless. That lack of reaction is a power move that speaks volumes. It's a clear declaration of masculine superiority, a subtle yet devastating put-down. Your focus, as un hombre de alto valor, is on building, conquering, achieving, not on defending a fragile ego from every passing breeze. Let the weak mind squabble over perceived slights. Your business is far more important. Viewing offense as a growth opportunity is the strategic play. Ah, so that bothered me, you might muse. Why? What belief did that challenge within me? What aspect of myself do I need to solidify to make truly impervious? This is productive introspection, not wallowing. The weak mind craves external validation and crumbles under external criticism. The strong mind is self-validating and ruthlessly uses external criticism as raw, unfiltered data for internal refinement and unwavering progress. This is the pinnacle of control, emotional, not stifling emotion, but understanding its root, choosing your response, and ultimately, transcending the petty games of the insecure. Look, it's simple. This isn't just about not getting triggered. It's about mastering the damn game. This is Machiavelli-level thinking applied to your everyday interactions. True control. Emotional isn't about suppressing feelings, it's about wielding them. Or rather, not letting others weaponize them against you. That's real Potter. It's a ruthless juego mental where your composure is your ultimate weapon. You see, their manipulation only works if you bite. By staying unbothered, you earn their begrudging respeto. You solidify your position as an hombre de alto valor, not just in their eyes, but in your own. This, my friend, is the essence of potent strategia mas. So, I gotta ask you, in what specific area do you feel your control emotional is weakest? And what's your Machiavelli-esque strategy to fortify it? Drop your thoughts, your struggles, your wins, in the comments below. Let's talk real talk, and listen up. If you're serious about escalating your game, about genuinely becoming an hombre de alto valor, then you need to hit that subscribe button, punch that notification bell. That's your VIP pass to more exclusive strategia masculina, more hard truths, more tools for true Potter. Next up, we're diving deep into the subtle art of turning perceived weakness into undeniable strength. Click the video on screen now. Until then, keep your head cool, your resolve iron, and your game strong, always.